now, quickly, we do have INEC Osakioduwa. He's also one who actually had a lot to say concerning the elections, particularly from the VGC area. INEC, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so, I mean, you're creative, you're a resident of one of the polling unit areas. All the polling units that didn't get the opportunity to actually engage or exercise their franchise, especially on D-Day, it had to be moved to the next day when the REC actually visited. Tell us about it. The reasons were made bare that the INEC staff said they were, in a way, arrested in the previous elections. That's the presidential elections, that they were not given room to do what they had to do. Just break it down for us, please.
I will, Joe. I'll do exactly that. But before I do, I just like to express my extreme shock at Mr. Boega and his comments that widespread, his definition of widespread. On the Lekki Expressway alone, we saw violence at Itado, Ikate, VGC. We saw stress at Thomas Estate, Abraham Adesanya. That's 5 places on the Lekki Expressway alone. If that isn't widespread, I'm not sure what his definition of widespread is. Plus, he says the Lagos State his party didn't weaponize, bigotry. But there's a picture circulating with Mr. Jubril Gawat in a procession, and yes. What could have been a protest, I don't know, just a procession. And right beside him, there's a sign that says, "My Lagos, not yours." And then he puts in small caps, "You are here because of your business." If that isn't bigotry, I'm not sure what is. And that right there is a senior special assistant to the governor on new media. If that is their posture, then you're completely endorsing bigotry, division, oppression of a people. If you take the Lagos economy and take out all the non-Lagosian businesses and owners of businesses, you take the Tony Elumelus and the Jim Obias, and you classify everybody as Igbo, and you throw out all their business, what is there to Lagos? So I think, quite frankly, the APC should have done more when MC Oluomo came out and made... you investigated and then did what? Nothing has happened to him. We've seen no public reprimand. We've seen nobody disavowing themselves from his association. We've seen him lose no title. We've seen nobody take responsibility for his action, not even him. So you said you sent him to go and clear his name. If truly the Lagos State governor does not believe in what MC Oluomo said, there should be some serious disciplinary actions. He should face charges, and then the party must separate themselves from him. But that's just my opinion, and I'm just an individual. Back to what we were discussing. The VGC experienced some difficulties with the presidential election, just like everybody else did in the rest of the country. First of all, when the INEC officials arrived, and they arrived in 3 stages. First polling unit arrived around 10:30. The next arrived around 12. The last set of polling agents from INEC arrived around 1:30. Somewhere around 4 o'clock, they decided that they wanted to leave, which was absolutely ridiculous. We have 5,600 registered voters in VGC, which were about to be disenfranchised. Now, at no point did VGC kidnap anybody or, stop anybody from leaving. But there was a bit of an uproar where people said, we have a right to vote. The law says if we've been accredited and we're on the queue, then we should be allowed to vote. That's what the law says. So we called everybody we could and impressed upon them that they had to allow the votes continue. The votes continued, and obviously ran into the late evenings. After which, the counting process took time, after which there was the whole drama of upload this thing online and transmit. And that was when we all discovered that it wasn't working. Now, we thought it was an isolated event to VGC, but apparently it was everywhere. Once we discovered, okay, this is nationwide, nobody's VBUS is working. We said, okay, what's the way forward? They said they would upload offline, and when they get back to their collation center and they're connected to their network hardwired or whatever it is they were doing, that the votes would count the same way, which is exactly what happened. So yes, the votes went past midnight, but that was absolutely no one's fault. INEC was learning with their machines. VGC was getting accustomed to their new process. And the only thing that we insisted on was that everybody who was on the queue and accredited, as at the time the close of the election time came, should be allowed to vote. And in our case, that was almost 1,000 people. So, I mean, it took as long as it took, but it was our right to vote. In this particular case, the INEC officials who were there, because we said to them that they had to vote, they decided this next election, because we insisted on them letting us vote and not refused to say that we would walk away. Decided this time they didn't want to come into VGC. They said they were going to stay on the expressway so that at any time they decide to leave, they could hop into a car and zoom off. We said, well, you can do that inside VGC, but we don't feel safe bringing 5,600 people onto Lekki Expressway. Plus, we had some other concerns. The BVAS is supposed to be geolocated, right? This was our understanding. So you're not supposed to be able to take a BVAS from Osakioduwa, London, and take it to VGC and vote, right? VGC is a huge estate. And to take the BVAS from the field where the polling unit is designated by INEC to the Lekki Expressway means you've moved several hundred meters. And we're not sure that this BVAS would still work. So we're like, is this a way to negate our votes? Is this something we're doing? Then secondly, we had seen the violence across the Lekki Expressway. We said, we don't want this to happen to our people. How do you make 5,600 people queue on an expressway? It makes no sense. So we said, look, we're not willing to open ourselves up to this violence. Two, we don't trust this polling unit that has been created. It may be a fake polling unit. This may be a way to negate our votes. And three, we're saying this is what is on your website. You have put this location as the polling unit on your website. That is where we're going to wait. So we just insisted on waiting in the legally appointed polling unit. And it was quite a struggle with INEC. Eventually, they left at 1:20. INEC decided to go away. They left. The state rex, who's the man you see on TV, decided, okay, the vote should go ahead, but the EO had allowed her staff to leave by 1:20, which is earlier than closing time of the election anyways. But I've got to give props to this gentleman you see on TV right now in the green. He insisted that VGC residents will have their right to vote and promised that the next day they would come back and voting would continue, or voting would begin in VGC.
I believe that's Olusegun Agbaje, the Lagos State Resident Electoral Commissioner.
Yes.
I also want you to speak on, because we're out of time, unfortunately. I also want you to speak on the post-election. I think I did ask you about this on election day proper, but I want you to speak on post-election in Lagos State. I fear, that the divisions that have been created, because one person or another just, wanted to win an election may linger for a long, long time. And I do not. I see things on social media, in the last 2 days, and I'm sick, to my stomach. The kinds of things that young people are tweeting, against another tribe and whatnot. It's heartbreaking. So I want you to speak post-election, Lagos State, and even Nigeria. What do you think happens next, and where can we go from here? You heard me speak, and call, of course, on the Lagos State government to take responsibility and take action. But where do you see us going?
First of all, I think the most ideal time to have spoken up against this would have been while the election was still going on. That would have been the most sincere, most heartfelt apology from the Lagos State government to say, we don't believe in this. This is not who we are. We do not support this at all. It would have been best at that time for the Lagos State government to come out and say, if you are being violent to any tribe, then you are not supporting me. I'm the governor of everyone in Lagos and not just the governor of the Yorubas. That's what should have happened. But since that didn't happen at the time, the best time now is now. We're still waiting for that video, that strong-worded video from the Lagos State governor to say, this is not who we are. This is not what I believe, that I am the governor of everybody. And it's going to take more than one video. It's going to take a lot more from the Lagos State government to posture to say that we are sorry for this violence, and not some irresponsible statements saying that it wasn't widespread enough, so for us to be sorry. That it should be something that is protracted, a long protracted effort by the Lagos State government to include everybody who has been a part of growing this economy. Then also, it's going to take a lot of effort from the part of the people who are kin to the persons perpetrating this violence. In other words, every Yoruba person out there should be on their Twitter, should be on their Instagram, saying that they don't stand with this. This is pre-Civil War behavior. This is what happened before the Civil War.